Good afternoon, everyone. Now we will start the webinar, Smart Procurement for Better Transport. My name is Yan-Ying Lin from ITS Europe. And webinar, we have only 3 presentations. At the beginning, we will have the coordinator of the SPICE project. She will give an overview of the challenges now public procurer face. And then we will have 2 more presentations. One is about the current EC legal framework and some examples of public procurement. I will start with the first presentation. I will hand Bahar as the presenter. And before we move to the presentation, I will show the slides. How we can use the webinar. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the webinar. So you are currently in listen-only mode. So you cannot talk. If you want to have any questions, you can, during the presentation, give your questions through the question box in the webinar. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. At the end of the presentations, if we still have some time, you can, I will say if you can ask the question, then you can raise your hand to click this icon, and then I will unmute you, and then you may be able to speak directly. During the presentations, if you want to ask any questions, just use the question chat box, and I will read your questions to the presenter. Okay, I will move to the presentation then. So Bahar, please, you are the presenter now. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Can you hear? Can you all see my presentation and also hear my voice?
Yes, I can hear you well, and I can see your screen well.
Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to welcome you to this webinar. We are very delighted to have all of you here. I would like to shortly present what is the SPICE project. SPICE stands for Support Procurement for Innovative Transport and Mobility Solutions in City Environment. Basically, SPICE is one of the Horizon 2020 proposals which got accepted this summer. We already started around 1st of September, and it's going to be 2 years project, so we will expect to finish by the end of August 2018. My name is Bahar Namaki-Araki. I'm ITS project manager from City of Copenhagen and also coordinator of this project. And the project itself, the consortium is comprised of different partners: City of Copenhagen, ERTICO, Region North Denmark, City of Tampere, Austria Tech, Rijkswaterstaat, Ministry of Road and Transportation, Netherlands, Forum Virum from City of Helsinki, City of Hamburg, and also Northamptonshire County Council from UK. And we are also supported by the Eurocity. The total funding of the project is about 827,000 euros, and it's going to be a 2 years project, as I mentioned earlier. The methodology and the objective of SPICE is that we would try to create a stakeholder groups in the first step, which is comprised of the public procurers, industry suppliers, and also research communities. And through these stakeholder groups, we would try to collect the best practices about procurement, both in terms of the technical and also in terms of the legal aspects. And then in the second round, we would create some experts panels, both from the legal and also technical experts, and we will try to bridge between the two community and two groups, and then we will evaluate all the criteria that has been raised as a best practice and also sometimes lesson learned practices, if not worst practice, we say. And then we will all try to come with some recommendations at the end, which could actually be sort of kind of a guidelines or recommendation list for various stakeholders from public authority and also the industry, that how should we address different topics. And then, of course, through, as you can see today, also onwards into the next 2 years, we will have a lot of dissemination activities, workshops that hopefully we can try to create some capacity building. And also at the end, we would like to create some common buyer groups so that cities can actually join together, or public authorities, and then try to procure the same solutions together. In general, in SPICE, we will focus on 3 main topics. One is the mobility services, and the other one intelligent transportation systems, and also environmental friendly fuel. We also will cover some other topics which might come in between these topics as use cases. But why SPICE could be interesting for everybody, and also those who are actually here today, is that from the public procurer, like the cities, ministries, and so on, we usually face a lot of challenges on the way for procuring, because intelligent transportation system, mobility services, all are very complex projects. And when you start procuring something, there is a lot of risks associated with these types of contracts compared to the classic contracts methods. So one of the challenges you all might face is that how can you actually ensure yourself that what you are procuring is exactly what you wanted? Or how can you deal with extension of a contract, especially when it's about an innovative product? All of you are very familiar that when we are developing something new and something innovative, there is a lot of potential for research and development. And of course, beforehand, when you are procuring something, you should be prepared about these potential softwares and R&D rights and IPRs and these kind of things. But normally, since this is an innovation, you are doing something today which will be implemented in a couple of years or a couple of months. So how can you actually see all the requirements in advance, and how can we be sure that we are addressing all the requirements in time? And then also, in many cases, it happens that you try as a public authority develop something together with your industry partners. And then one of the criteria you have actually chosen that supplier as a winner of your tender is that you want to develop something which is going to be a maintaining service afterwards, like a software, for instance, or an app for travel time information, or journey planners and things like that. But as the projects proceed, it might happen the situation turns in a way that the supplier cannot see any business model for that. How can we actually handle situations as complex like this? The other reasons that you can also think of that is that usually cooperative ITS, intelligent transportation system, mobility services are not one package solution. That's why they are very complex, and many times you can experience that contract managers or public procurers are not ready to deal with the complexity of this type of procurement. That's why they tend to go back into the classical method. But is that really a right way to do it or not? That is of a question. And one of the other thing is that usually the technologies we buy need to be updated as we go. There's new standards every day, there is new changes and demands as we go. So how can we actually secure ourselves in the day we start and we're procuring something that is going to change along the way? And also a lot of issues with the development, new innovation, and so on. This is the topics that actually tries to bridge actually between public procurers and also industry partners to see how can we actually help each other on the way to know better what is the nature of development on the supplier side, and also how can we as a public authority secure ourselves and bring us with more knowledge in terms of how to deal with that. And one of the other really hopes for us is that the legal aspects and the technical aspects, we start having a better dialogue and understanding of the nature of the needs. So I'm hoping that today you will learn more about these topics yeah, I mean, get to know better SPICE context and objectives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Farhad. That's a very brief introduction just about the challenges we face, and then in the next 2 years, we will work together to address all these challenges. Next speaker is Ransom. I will make you as a presenter. Okay, Ransom, we can see your screen. So It's your time to give us the presentation. Thank you. We cannot hear you.
Okay, here we are. Good afternoon, everybody. I just need, yes, this is me. I'm Lasse Stender. I'm Chief Legal Advisor in North Denmark region. In this presentation, I will try to give you an overview of the most relevant approaches that might be used when you want to enhance or open up for more innovative solutions in your procurement projects. The presentation is mostly aimed at public procurers, but I hope that the presentation will also be interesting and relevant for private suppliers or researchers who participate or plan to participate in public tenders and who plan on introducing potential innovative solutions to the market in the near future. We will talk a little about the differences between procurement of research and development and procurement of innovation. Then we will have a talk about procurement procedures versus procurement approaches. And then we will see some examples of approaches to innovation procurement. Most of you will probably be acquainted with public research and development projects, shortened R&D. And also the exemption rules in the EU public procurement directives regarding the exemption of research and development services from normal procedures in a directive. The exemption rules are typically used in, for instance, public-private innovation corporations or in PCPs. However, SPICE and therefore this presentation is not about procuring research and development services according to the exemption rules. Instead, SPICE is focused on how to enhance or to allow more innovation in specific or daily procurement actions, whether it's a specific procurement project with the aim of fulfilling specific needs or just normal daily procurement of goods and services. And last but not least, SPICE is focused on how you procure innovation within the legal framework of the public procurement directives. Please notice that the member states have to have transposed procurement directives in different ways by 18th of April this year. So the different member states have implemented the directive in different ways. But in SPICE and this presentation, we will use the references to the public procurement directives. If we have a look at the definition of research and development, it's not to be found in the public procurement directive, but we have to on a European level and in the view of procurement, you will find a definition in the Defense Directive saying that research and development means all activities comprising of fundamental research, applied research, and experimental development. I won't go further into this definition. There's a lot of other definitions of research and development, but this is quite clear and probably, hopefully, well known to a lot of you. If we look at the definition of innovation, the key words of innovation is implementation. That could be implementation of the research and development projects being carried out, or it could also just be implementation of new ways of doing things, or using existing solutions or products in another way. So it's not necessarily new inventions, but it's implementation of new methods and maybe technology. So why is it important to distinguish between research and development and innovation? Well, it's because that, as I already mentioned, in the view of the procurement directives, that procurement of research and development are exempt, exempted from the EU procurement directives. You don't have to follow the specific procedures according to the directives. Contrary, procurement of innovation, where your acquisition, if it's above the thresholds, you have to follow the very strict and complex procedures in EU procurement directives. Procurement of research and development, it's not about commercial volumes, whereas procurement of innovation will be about, or is about, commercial procurement volumes. And last but not least, when you procure innovation, and according to the procurement procedures in the procurement directives, you always have to comply with the principles of equal treatment, transparency, and proportionality. So that's very important to have this definition in mind. This is a graphic of the differences between procurement of research and development and procurement of innovative solutions. Won't go more into deep with that. Then let's have a look on the differences between procurement procedures and procurement approaches. When you want to make procurements according to the procurement directives, you have to follow certain procedures, as I already mentioned. The procedures are found in the procurement directive or in the utilities directive, and that's of course depending on which area you are working in. Approaches are how you utilize the procedures and how to achieve a more, to achieve innovative solutions in your tender. Let's have a short look at which procedures are available. When we are talking about procurement of innovation, the most obvious procedures will of course be the competitive procedure with negotiation and competitive dialogue. And as some of you might already know, the possibilities of using these two procedures, competitive procedure with negotiation and competitive dialogue, has been widened up a lot in the new procurement directives. It says that if the contract entail needs of the contracting authorities and which not can be met without adaptation of already available solutions, or if the contract include design or innovative solutions, these two procedures can now be utilized. So when you want to procure complex solutions entailing innovative solutions, these two, the first two procedures, will normally be the most obvious procedures. Then we have the innovation partnership and we have design contest, but unfortunately the time schedule in this webinar doesn't allow me to go further into details with these procedures. However, we have to keep in mind that innovation procurement is not always only complex acquisitions. You can also use the procurement approaches in any procurement procedure, depending on how complex your acquisition is. So the approaches that I will present for you in a couple of minutes will also could also be utilized in for instance open procedure. Example of approaches to innovation procurement. As already mentioned, you can use these approaches if your tender aims at specific innovative solutions or not yet introduced solutions to the market, or you can just use approaches if you want to make your tender more innovation friendly. First of all, we have the new legal basic for preliminary market consultation. That's not a new term. Market consultations has been carried out a lot of years, but introducing the new procurement directives, we have had a formal legal basis for market consultation. The key words for that is, and that's very useful and very important, is that the purpose of market consultation should be first of all preparing your procurement procedure, and second, informing the economic operators of the procurement plans and requirements. In this slide, I have listed some examples of how to utilize preliminary market consultation. A lot of you have probably been doing this or participated in market consultation, and maybe you have seen that done in very different ways, and in other ways than the examples that I am presenting here. But one of the things that you can do in the preliminary market consultation is that you can, of course, find out what's available in the market. You can have supplier days, you can have supplier visits, and you can have suppliers presenting their existing solutions to you. I forgot to say that market consultation is of course the cornerstone of any innovation procurement, and it's absolutely most important approach when you want to procure innovation. Another way of utilizing market consultation is the early announcement, where you announce months or maybe years ahead that you want to carry out a procurement procedure in the future, informing the market of specific needs and specific details in your procurement procedure. That could, for instance, be informing the market that you want to use labels on, for instance, green public procurement, or you want to use standards, national, European, or ISO standards. It could also be national environmental requirements, or if you have legacy systems that you want a future solution to integrate with, describing the requirements for such integrations or standard interfaces. It could also be informing the market that when you want to evaluate the bids coming in, you want to use TCOs or life cycle costs for evaluation, and then maybe months or years ahead make these models public to the market, so that they can prepare very long time ahead their bids and their solutions to fit into that evaluation criteria. Doing this early announcement technique, you actually carry out a very specific buyer-driven development, of course, depending on how critical a mass you are. If you're only a very small public procurer, you might not be able to steer the market towards your requirements and your solutions. But if you can gather a critical mass, maybe together with other public authorities, maybe also public authorities in other member states, you might be able to gather a critical mass that makes the forthcoming tender interesting for private suppliers. You can also mix an early announcement with a forward commitment procedure, promising or guaranteeing you to procure certain volumes according to the contract that is won by the suppliers. A fourth way of utilizing market consultation is doing a supplier review of your tender documentation. When you have when you're almost finished with drafting your tender documentation, you can send out the documentation for review on the market, and in that way hopefully get relevant feedback from potential suppliers. All these approaches to market consultation can of course be mixed, and a very strong combination will be the very early consultation to the market inform the market of your needs, and having dialogues with the market on what they can offer at the current state, and then afterwards, when you have drafted your specifications, making the potential suppliers review the tender documentation. Actually, there's not very many limits on how you can investigate the existing market or communicate your future needs, as long as competition is not distorted and you comply with the principles of equal treatment, non-discrimination and transparency. Other ways of utilizing market consultation could also be setting up test sites for the use of private suppliers, and or giving access to real data or production data from your existing environment. All these methods we will hopefully get to discuss these approaches in more detail during the SPICE project, and hopefully in the dialogue with you and the other SPICE stakeholders. And we will definitely handle the market consultation item very detailed in the final report, because, as I said, market consultation is the cornerstone of innovation procurement. Another approach to innovation procurement is using functional requirements or open specifications. I don't want to talk much about that, apart from using functional requirements is doing the functional or the technical specifications purpose specific instead of doing them solution specific. Mixing your market investigations with the open specifications is also normally a very effective mix of approaches to enhance the possibilities of new innovative solutions, and it's a very relevant approach if you have a procurement procedure following PCP or other research and development projects that you have been participating in. Another approach is using variance. Variance is, as you probably know, a combination of a very detailed technical specifications and open specifications. And as it applies with the functional requirements, variants are normally not a good solution for your whole procurement procedure, but next time you have a procurement procedure, you might consider whether some parts of your technical specification could be made into variants to open up for new innovative solutions. But always, when you're using functional requirements or variants, you have to be very specific on how you will evaluate the bids coming in. It's not possible just to write on a very high level what you want, because it has to be transparent how you want to evaluate potential bids coming in. I will jump down to using innovative characteristics. Unfortunately, the time schedule doesn't allow me to run through all the examples here, but the slides will be available to all the participants today. And I will promise that in SPICE we will be handling and we will be discussing all these approaches and of course more approaches. One of the last approach I will talk about is using innovative characteristics in your evaluation criteria. That means that you will actually award solutions, bids that are offering new innovative solutions or solutions that has some parts of it are innovative compared to existing solutions. How do you do that? Well, as it is for open specifications, it's not enough just to write that you will award innovative characteristics in the offered solutions. You have to specify what you understand by innovative characteristics. And this is something that is very interesting, and then that we hope will be enlightened in the cases that we get in SPICE. Some of the techniques that can be used could, for instance, be a negative delimitation of solutions or techniques, saying that any solutions or techniques not using this and this technique will be seen as innovative. Another technique could be that if a performance is exceeding or lying below certain limits, it will be seen as an innovative solutions. That could be, for instance, pollution or capacity or speed. Or you might be able to use, for instance, board of experts. Yes, that's it for now. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that you will follow the SPICE project, and then you will be able to follow the work and the steps further on.
And thank you very, very much. It's not so easy job, Lasse, because the EU directive for public procurement is very complex. But we only have 20 minutes to give a very quick very quick overview. But through our project, we will organize a number of trainings and a number of capacity buildings. So we will have more opportunities to learn more about the legal frameworks for public procurement. So now I move to the last presentation that actually gives some real examples on public procurement, and to show how we can use the different legal frameworks to make innovative transport and mobility solutions to be used by public. Fred, I make you as a presenter, and the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for having me here. My name is Fred Zijderand. I'm working for the Ministry of Infrastructure and Environment in the Netherlands, better known as the Rijkswaterstaat. And in daily life I'm working for the Amsterdam Practical Trial. What I would like to do in my short presentation is give you some flavor of the information we are collecting within SPICE, or aiming to collect, and what we can do with it. Of course, we just started the project on the 1st of September, so it will be just the first indication for you to see what we can do, and the first stimulants maybe also to you to provide that kind of information to SPICE and via us to others. Brief content of my presentation. I will just mention a little bit about the approach we're taking to collect the information. I want to present 3 examples very briefly, of course. That's always very brief in this kind of presentations, and then indicate you the further steps we will be taking within the SPICE project. As you know, as an introduction, what we say from SPICE is that we want to assist public authorities in procuring innovative solutions. And how can we assist the public authorities? Of course, in different ways. But SPICE specifically is looking to the procurement procedures and approaches to help the authorities in that way. And one of the major part of that work is to share the experiences and knowledge that is around in Europe to all other SPICE stakeholders, so that we can learn from each other. The second main part of it is that as a SPICE team we will be analyzing all this information and see what the common best practices are, but also to see what the common problems and difficulties are, to come to real recommendations further on for the SPICE stakeholders. So as I said, we will give a very brief overview of what we can do and what the benefits could be for procurers. First, our approach to collect information, very simply stated. Bahar in her introduction already mentioned, we are collecting information basically in 4 main topics. One topic is dealing with alternative fueled vehicles and infrastructure. It's a long word, but in fact that's generally aiming at all kind of procurements dealing with electric cars, and the infrastructure is dealing with that. Second is the area of intelligent transport systems. It is very widespread, and that can be very small project and very large projects in this area. Mobility solutions is going wider than intelligent transport system for our side, but that also includes things like public transport and other possible solutions in the transport area. And other related urban transport innovations which we might come across in our quest for best practices. Important to realize, and also what is, I think, the unique selling point of SPICE is that the information we are collecting is at one side dealing with the content, of course, because we need to know briefly what the projects are dealing about, but more important, we are collecting information out of procurement procedures, and that's rather new, I think. And second point is that we're not only looking to the best practices, but even more focusing to difficulties encountered, things which were not possible, things went wrong with, things which were solved in the end but was very difficult, because that is the area where we can learn the most from, we think. And the approach we take to collect information is first of all to have a look at the desk research. There is a lot of information available already, of course, and we're not reinventing the wheel in this part. We have SPICE partners from 7 different countries. Each of them are well known within their country and knows how and where to find the information. Especially we think that SPICE is aiming at procurement also in the city environment. So direct links to people in cities is very important. Third point, and it's also very relevant for the listeners at this moment, is that we are building up this stakeholder group. So everybody can easily join SPICE, just mention name and organization, that is sufficient already, and you will be asked later on to also provide your best practices, your experiences, maybe your bad experiences, and we will take that into account in SPICE. We also will use our contacts, of course, via ERTICO, via CEDEN, via the IEP and Eurocities and other projects within Europe to contact as many as possible to get the right information. Main purpose of that is a very, not simple, but a request for information, an online form which will people ask them to fill them in, and where needed we will contact and have bilateral discussions by phone or by visits. Just 3 examples briefly how this is working and what to give you a flavor of what we expect. First one is a project in Copenhagen that was recently tendered. It's an 8 million euros urban ITS program with 6 different subtopics in the area of traffic management, sensing, networking, so it's monitoring, intelligent street lighting, etc., etc. With the aim for the city of Copenhagen to really become a carbon neutral city in the year 2025. So a lot of technology, a lot of different things below it, and a lot of work and challenging project to tender. Specific things from the procurement process were that they started with an open invitation to suppliers in workshops and working groups to really work together to come to different specifications, and which all the results of those groups was used in the tender docs. After the tender was out, there was also 2 pre-qualification rounds to limit the number of people that really were tendering. And in the tender evaluation itself, what was one of the topics mentioned also by Lasse, is that was a very clear criterion on innovation solution. So it was one of the criteria also to select the right winner of the tender. And even after the tender, a few rounds of questions and answers were done. And what was also peculiar in this way was they gave a very narrow price range, so that the price was an issue, but most issue was on the quality of the project. Positive experience was that, as I mentioned, that to involve the suppliers already in the starting phase. Other was this narrow price range that avoided to choose really the cheapest one, and also the clarification after the project was signed. A few difficulties they came across is one thing that we see more often is that it would be very good to have a model how to share the risk between the buyer and the supplier. This is still rather difficult in procurements. It would also be great to see how we can involve the parties who did not win the tender. Very often you would like to have some way to have them involved anyway in the project later on. Also, lack of standards was a problem, and writing the specification took them a very long time in this way. Second example is the project I'm working in myself, the Amsterdam Practical Trial. That is more or less a 6 years project with a 50 million euros program to develop and test new concepts in the area of integrated network management in the urban area. Keywords of the projects are that we are looking for the integration of the roadside and the in-car methods and information and ways to work in traffic management, to combine them and together with public and private partners to come to an optimal solution for traffic management. You can see here the website also where you can get more information about this project. The project itself was contains 3 phases, and each of the phases contains several sub-projects. So there are in fact many different sub-projects, and each of them had its own process for tendering. And we learned a lot because of the different way of tendering within the same overall project. And tenderings were smaller ones below the EU thresholds. There were design contests, market consultations, normal European request of tenders, but even last one was a tender where we did not pay the supplier, but we went into a very good cooperation together. Positive experience from this was the step-by-step approach, that also, because we did it the way we did it, many different tenders, parties, suppliers were involved in the project, and so a lot of people were gaining also from our experiences. It is very important also that we could continue with one party from one project to the other, and we learned that makes starting up the new sub-project, and we gained a lot of time for it. And also the last one, agreement based on closed pocket, was a very successful one. Difficulties is 3 of them, but there are much more, of course. Was continuation of the service after the project was not realized. It's one of the question marks Bahar mentioned in the beginning. Also the question how to involve the other suppliers who did not win, and also the problems how to extend the contract with the same very experienced supplier to follow up in the new assignments. The last example I would like to give is called ECO-ED. That is a cooperation between Austria, Germany and the Netherlands to build a connected ITS corridor from Amsterdam to Vienna. Within that corridor, systems are developed and tested with providing functions like intelligent road warnings and collecting of floating car data, but it's also a basis to develop and test the vehicle to infrastructure communications. So very important there is that there comes an open and a common standard for this communication between the vehicle and the infrastructure, because to standardize that will make a much faster market uptake. The project contained it exists of two different phases. First, the pre-development phases with a proof of concept, and the second phase is a nationwide deployment of this roadworks and probe vehicle data. Within that procurement processes, as I mentioned, they have this split in two phases. Also very important for the suppliers was that supplier must participate in phase 1 and to test their specifications, and that was a prerequisite for pre-qualification for phase 2. So it's sure that everybody who wants to offer in for the phase 2 is able to fulfill the specifications mentioned. Even for phase 2, it was not limited to the people who are really participating in phase 1. Also, every supplier who fulfills the requirements can register for phase 2. Some positive experience here, setting up the specifications with the help of suppliers is very positive, and also this split in phase 1 and phase 2 and use the phase 1 as a pre-qualification was very interesting. Difficulties encountered here is, just one I mentioned here, is the aim was to have a joint procurement from the Netherlands, Germany and Austria, but it turned out that the laws are so different so that it would be too much and too difficult to really come to a joint procurement. So the basis is jointly, the technical side is joint, but the procurement are separate by nation. These are just three very simple examples which we collected or brought in from our own experiences and did not even do an in-depth analysis. But already from this there are a number of very brief conclusions which we can take. Very important, we see that in all three projects, is to involve suppliers as early in the process as possible, even far before the specification of the tenders are there, just to get a good feeling what the market can do, but also to commonly in a co-creation process define the needs and the specifications for the tender. Also very positive and seen in different places is to split up a project, certainly when it is a little bit bigger, in a step-by-step approach, also for the procurement. So not only on the technical, that's more or less normal to have different phases and different milestones, but also for the procurement, that in the phases you can select the right parties who can continue for next phases and to help in what is needed in the next phases. Two difficulties or questions also arose already from these three examples, and one of them is a long-lasting question already. I think everybody is looking for that, is how can we really split the risks between the buyers and the suppliers so that there is a really balanced split about that and that the right party take the right risks, and in that way be as cost effective as possible. And the other one is also how to involve suppliers that did not win the contract, because also their experience and knowledge, certainly in innovative procurement, is very important also to get that on board. And from the other side, it's important to get them, contact with them and work together when the new developments might lead to new standards and new protocols and things like that. As mentioned by Bahar already, what we will do with this information, again also to give you a feeling what we will be doing, is all information. First of all, we will structure that in a way that the different best practices, the different information we get, have a more or less common structure and are much more easy to read and to use them, and then it will be made available to the SPICE website to everybody. Secondly, the SPICE project will do an analysis of this information, and we will see where additional interviews might be needed to get more information about specific points. And we will analyze that, of course, to see the major learning points, both positive and both also negative, and what are the major challenges and difficulties as I stated, that are the most learning points for this area, I think. And in the end, we will draft recommendations from the SPICE project. But of course, that recommendation we will ask the stakeholders to review them and give them input also. So that also in that way, then using all the knowledge and the experiences from the stakeholders in Europe. Just a few simple conclusions at this moment. As I stated, we just at the forefront of this work in SPICE, but we already showed that just looking at a few examples, it gives several conclusions. What we also think and see is that sharing of those experiences is already very valuable for those who are participating in the stakeholder group of SPICE. And again, the unique selling points, new points of SPICE are that we are building a stakeholder network, that we focus on the procurement experiences, and we have this focus on difficulties encountered. So generally it would be very simple for people to add and to become a stakeholder, member of the stakeholder group in SPICE. Just provide your name, email address, organization and role to Yan Yeng Li. The website address is there, and then you will be a member of this group and you will get much more information from our side, and if possible you can input in also your information and get even in discussion with us. Thank you very much for your attention. That is what I wanted to say from our side, from the way to collecting the different information, and I give now over to Yan Yeng to finalize this webinar.
Thank you, Fred. I see one question here from Trevor Pratt. Would you mind to say the question yourself, or you want me to read it for you? I unmute you anyway.
I cannot see.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you can raise my question on my behalf.
No, you're unmuted, so you can ask that. It's very valuable question.
Understand where you, in terms of the approach using an agile, both development approach and delivery approach. It can be quite an effective way of delivering innovation, and I couldn't see anything in any of the presentations to do with an agile delivery.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I would like to ask the panelists, in your experience, do you have anything related to Agile? I know we use it for software development, but I don't know it's for innovative procurement procedures. Can we use it? So any of you have any experience, the panelists?
Well, we have some experience with that in the Amsterdam practical trial. Of course, it was not mentioned in my presentation because we will find examples of this when going out in detail and also other projects. One of the sub-projects we applied this agile approach for the further development of systems which should control traffic light controllers, and indeed that was a very way of working, because people really come together and really as a team work together, both from the public and the private side and the different companies involved. So it was a very positive experience.
Okay, thank you, Fred, for this question, for this answer, and thank you for this question. So if this is efficient approach, we will try to summarize in our best practice and then can share with others. Thank you very much for this question. Any of you want to make comments or questions, please raise your hand and then I can unmute you and then you can ask the question. Alternatively, you can put your questions in the chat box. Any more questions from the audience? I didn't see any hands. So in that case, we can close this webinar. If you have any questions and after the webinar, you're very welcome to contact with us, and you can contact me. I will pass, or any of the panelists, and I will pass the questions. I also take these opportunities to thank all the panelists for your presentations, and thanks to all the participants for your time. And we welcome you to join the stakeholder group that's open to everyone in the transport sector, either your public authority or research or industry. You're all welcome. We aim to bridge the gap between the innovation solutions and the implementations. We aim to bring together different stakeholders and to find the best way to make innovative transport and mobility solutions to be implemented as quick as we can. Thank you. So I will close the webinar now, and you will receive an email with a link of the recording, and then you can always listen to the video again. Thank you. Bye-bye.